Hello and welcome to the next episode of my channel where I'll be taking up poetic devices. Now, poetic devices are also known as figures of speech or literary devices. The name changes according to the place where it is used. If it is used in a poem, it's known as a poetic device. If it is used in prose, it's known as figures of speech or literary device. Now, what are these poetic devices? These poetic devices, these figures of speech are nothing but a different way of writing the same thing. When we decorate our language, when we say things not in a simple manner, but we use a different choice of words to make it sound more interesting, it is known as poetic device. Now, let us take up the first poetic device, that is simile. Simile comes from the word similar. So what is simile? When we compare two things with the help of as or like. When we directly compare two things with the help of as or like, it is known as simile. For example, he is as fat as a balloon. So I am directly comparing him to a balloon with the help of the word as. Okay, so in simile, the two objects which are compared will be found in the sentence as well as the words as or like. The second poetic device is metaphor. It is the indirect comparison between two objects without using as or like. Without using as or like. For example, he is the king of his house. Now, I am comparing him to a king. But did I use as or like? No. So, it is metaphor. Another example, the river hissed through the valley. Now, here I am comparing the river to a snake with the help of the word hissed. I didn't use the word snake anywhere. I didn't use the word as or like anywhere. But with the word hissed, you came to know that I am comparing the river to a snake. Okay, so when there is indirect comparison between two objects without using as or like, it is called metaphor. Third poetic device is personification. When we give the characters of a person to an object or a non-living thing, it is called personification. Like the example can be, death lay its icy hands on the king. Now, death is not a human, so it cannot have hands. But in this sentence, I am treating death like a person. Another example can be, the clouds started to cry. Now, cloud is not a person, it cannot cry. But here it means that it started to rain. The fourth poetic device is apostrophe. When we talk to something which is dead or absent or an personified object, when we talk to something which is not present or which is being personified, which is being treated like a person, we use apostrophe. There is a famous poem called Wind in class 9th CBSE, where the poet is talking to the wind. So that is called apostrophe. When we talk to something which is not a human being, which is not present, but it is being treated like a person, it is called apostrophe. So a very famous poem in class 9, Wind. The poet talks to wind this is apostrophe. Okay, where he tells the wind not to break the shutters, not to scatter the papers. This is apostrophe. We cannot talk to wind, can we? No. Next, number 5, transferred epithet. Now we can take epithet as a synonym for adjective. Okay, and we know that adjectives are always written before a noun. Okay, but what happens in the case of transferred epithet? Let's see. I spent a sleepless night. Now the adjective in this sentence or the epithet in this sentence is sleepless, and it is used before the noun, that is night. But night can never be sleepless. It is I who was sleepless. That means the epithet or the adjective should have been before I. The adjective or the epithet has been transferred from its right place. So that is why it is called transferred epithet. Next sentence. The hungry cottage had 5 children. Now, again, the epithet in this sentence or the adjective in this sentence is hungry. But should it be used before cottage? Was the cottage hungry? No, it was the children who were hungry. So that is why again it is transferred epithet. Next is anaphora. Now what do you mean by anaphora? When consecutive lines, consecutive means one after the other. When consecutive lines begin with the same word, it is called anaphora. Like for example, if I write a poem, I am happy, I will be happy. Suppose I write these lines. Now I find that both these two lines begin with the same word, that is I. Okay, so this is anaphora. These two lines are anaphora. I. First line also begins with I, second line also begins with I. 7th is alliteration. When 2-3 consecutive words begin with the same consonant sound, like for example, the silent snake slithered. Now we find 3 words beginning with the consonant sound, that is S. Next, let's take another example. The big bad boy. Here also we see the big bad boy walked on the street. Okay, so we find that 3 words, that is big bad boy, all begin with the same consonant sound, that is B. So this is alliteration. There can be a gap between 2 words also. Okay, next one is onomatopoeia. Now what do you mean by onomatopoeia? These are sound words which are treated like a verb. Like for example, words like buzz, crash, boom. These are actually sound words but which are treated like a verb. Okay, number 9. Number 9 is a very interesting one. It is called the hyperbole. As I always say, if I bifurcate the word, hyper means too much, and in Hindi, bole means bolna. So when I say too much, when I exaggerate things, when I increase the intensity of things purposely, that's called hyperbole. For example, if I write, I cried an ocean of tears. I cried an ocean of tears This is called hyperbole. I cannot cry an ocean of tears. I'm exaggerating things. Okay, so this is hyperbole. Next, number 10. Oxymoron. Oxymoron means when we use two contradictory words together. It is called oxymoron. Like for example, friendly enemy. How can my enemy be friendly? Okay, so this is oxymoron. Next, sweet, bitter memories or bittersweet memories. So how can the same thing be sweet also, bitter also, friendly also, enemy also? So when I am using two contradictory words together, this is called oxymoron. Number 11 is pun. Pun means words which are capable of giving two meanings. Okay? Like for example, if I take a very famous sentence, is life worth living? It depends on the liver. Okay, suppose I take this sentence, is life worth living? It depends on the liver. Here liver is a pun. It depends on two. It gives us two meaning. One, liver is the organ of your body, and second meaning is liver, the person who is living. So what do you mean by pun? Words or sentences which are capable of giving you two meanings. It's generally used in a humorous context. Next is metonymy. Okay, now what do you mean by metonymy? Metonymy means when I use a name of an object by the name of something else. Like for example, when I take a proper noun to describe or use a common noun associated to it. Like let's see, I'll tell you what does it mean. I love Agatha Christie. Now, I have used a proper noun over here. What is the proper noun over here? Agatha Christie. But what do I imply? What do I mean by this sentence? I love books written by Agatha Christie. Okay. Next, I love or I listen to Sonu Nigam. So what do I mean? I'm using a more proper noun. I'm using a more direct noun. Here the direct noun is Sonu Nigam. But what do I mean? I listen to the songs of Sonu Nigam. So when I take a proper noun or a more direct object to describe something associated with it, it is called metonymy. Okay, once again, because it's a little confusing, what is metonymy? When I use a more direct object or I use a proper noun to describe the other nouns, other common words associated with it, it is called metonymy. Number 3 is irony. When I say words which actually is opposite to the real situation, it is called irony. Like for example, it is an irony that it is raining in the mid of summer season. Now it's an irony. Why is it an irony? Because in summer season we don't expect rain. But if it is raining heavily in the middle of the summer season, it's actually opposite to what the situation should have been. So this is irony. For another example, the national sport of England is cricket, but it is an irony that it is played more in India. Okay, so it's an irony. Why it's an irony? Because It should have been played more in England, but it's an irony that it is played more in India. It's opposite to what the situation should have been. Okay, so this is irony. Number 14 is sarcasm. Sarcasm means it's a son of irony, we can say. It's a part of irony. Okay, but then it is used in a humorous context. Suppose some student of my class doesn't study. So what will I say? Oh my God, why are you studying a lot these days? So this, I'm being sarcastic. I'm saying opposite to what is actually happening. So sarcasm is used in a humorous context, generally to make fun of someone. Okay, so these are the basic poetic devices which you will be needing. One more I'll be doing it, that is Synecdoche. Now, Synecdoche is the opposite of metonymy. Metonymy means we were using a direct object to describe other objects associated to it. Here I will be using a general word which is associated to a direct object. Like for example, if I say, I walked through the Arabian sands. So when I say sands, what I meant I walked through the Arabian desert. Okay, so what is Synecdoche? It's the opposite of metonymy, where I use a general word to describe a more proper word. It is called metonymy. Another example can be, I came to school on wheels. So wheels over here stands for vehicle. Okay, so these are the basic poetic devices which you will be needing in your upcoming exams, or to understand any literary context better. Please let me know if you were able to understand, or if there is something which you have not understood. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Have a good day.